Hello, I'm Jan. This is 316 Yoga. This is your yoga from home. I think that's the best part. No commute, no judgment, nobody to the right or left of you doing strange things that make you feel, inadequate. Don't ever feel that way. This is your yoga from home where you do it your way. And I am holding space for you. What does that mean? Just holding space for you means that it's a time of not doing. It's a time of just being and settling in, a quiet time for you to breathe. If you stay here for this whole practice, it's a 1 hour long practice, or even if you just stay for 10 minutes, just breathe. Find your quiet time on your mat. I'm holding this space just for you. You've committed to be here, so why not make the most of it? Do what is right for you. And maybe that means going into legs up the wall pose for the entire practice, or staying in child's pose for the entire practice. It's all fine. As I mentioned, this is a restorative practice. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. But a restorative practice is what we do on Thursdays and Sundays. Other days of the week, we do other practices, from a vinyasa flow class where you hold a 1 minute plank, which you can do because there's lots of ways to do plank. Because you modify it, it's your practice. Remember, to hatha yoga, to just different types of yoga, including our Friday Yoga Plus practice where we incorporate bar and Pilates and hand weights. So it's all designed to make you stronger and more fit and more flexible and more mobile. All right, so the bottom of our screen says do what's right for your body. Everybody's body is different. Every day is different. Do what feels comfortable for you. Don't push it. If something doesn't feel right, if it hurts, back out of it. Don't do it. Take it to a lesser percentage. Make the yoga meet you where you are. Don't feel like, I've got to do this crazy handstand because that's the yoga. No, you let the yoga meet you where you are. You ease into the poses. And that's what I want to say about restorative. Restorative yoga is not just lying around. Restorative yoga is a time where you hold the poses for 3, 5, 7, 10 minutes. Maybe, like I said, you go in that legs up the wall pose for the entire hour. It's fine, but you take your time. You breathe through the poses. And something about that 3, 5, 7 time frame where the body just unwinds. It just lets go. You don't hold on to the tension anymore. You let it go. Give it a try. I think you'll like it. It's going to work. And this is a good time of self-care. Self-care is giving yourself permission to let go. And that's the word of the day. Permission. There we go. It's permission. Magic. And permission means to allow yourself time, to allow yourself to let go and just experience the peace of this time on your mat. So give yourself permission. Just let go and allow. All right, so we're going to need a couple props, the bolster, a couple yoga blocks, a blanket, maybe a hand towel. Maybe you're seated in a chair doing this pose. That's fine, and have some water too. Let's come into our first pose. It's a child's pose on the bolster. So today's focus is kind of a little sort of on your hips. And you feel better when your hips are more mobile. You can move better, and that feels good. I'm going to use the two blocks. I'm going to place them in the shape of a letter L at the top of my mat. And I'm going to ask you, as you put this bolster up here at an incline, to lock in a stress number. What's going on in your head, your body right now? Don't overthink it. Give yourself a number, like a smiley face to frowny face. Rate it. Scale of 1 to 10, 1 to 5. Rate it. And let's come into this child's pose on this bolster. Okay, so first of all, I'll start with an option. If your knees don't feel so good coming down here on the ground, you could sit in a chair and fold your torso over onto your lap. Maybe you put a blanket there and you just fold your torso over. If you're seated here on the ground and you like getting on the ground, but the knees don't feel so good, just kind of bring your legs up around the bolster, maybe place the blanket onto the bolster and just lean forward and take your time, allowing the chest to come to the bolster. I'm going to bend my knees because my knees don't bother me so much anymore. They did before I started doing yoga, but now they feel really, really good. All right, so I'm going to bring my knees up to the bottom of my bolster, maybe about the bottom third. I'm going to sit back on my heels for a second and decide if I want to use a blanket or not, and come on down and rest your chest onto this bolster. You can keep your head, maybe over the top of the bolster, or turn your head to one direction or the other. We're going to stay here for a little bit. I'm going to set a timer, and I'm going to set it. We're going to be here for about 6 minutes. So after 3 minutes, if you've turned your head, I'll let you know so you can turn the other cheek. Always a good thing. All right, so come on down. Get comfortable, arms wherever you want them. And just rest. Try to turn off your noisy brain. So much going on in the world, so much going on in our heads. Let the thoughts just come and go. And maybe create a little mantra for yourself. And maybe breathe in, and when you breathe in, say, I am calm, I am strong. Maybe when you breathe out, say, I am centered, I am at peace. A lot to remember. You don't have to remember it. Just come up with a little positive statement. Maybe it's just, I am at peace today. Breathe in through your nose, and a couple big sighs out through your mouth. I'm going to turn my head in the other direction just so I don't crush this microphone. So you rest on one cheek or the other, or let your forehead rest on your bolster. And imagine your chest letting go. Some big breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. And whenever you're ready, you can do that Ujjayi pranayama breath. And what that is it's closing your lips and breathing in and out of your nose. As you take your breathing to its fullest possible extent, full breaths in, feel your lungs fill up. And big breaths out, let everything go. Breathe in your peace, your strength. And breathe out the tension and things that don't serve you well. Let it go. Take a deep breath in. And a deep breath out. If you've been resting your head on one cheek, give it a turn to the other side. And we'll give it 3 minutes here as well. Clear the thoughts from your mind and just focus on that breath, how deep you're taking it. Big, full, healthy breath in. And a big, full, cleansing breath out. Let your shoulders melt away from your ears. Think of your spine as long and your neck as long as the crown of your head reaches toward the top of that bolster. Take your deep breath in. And your deep breath out. Okay, you can stay here the entire practice if this feels really good for you. But I'm gonna just turn over, come out of this pose, and I'm just gonna turn over and bring my back onto this setup. So keep it the way it is. Just flip around, maybe grab your eye shade and your blanket, or your little towel. So bottom is scooted up toward the edge of the bolster. Come to recline here. Let this feel good. Now you can place your blanket, totally on your body or just over your belly or your thighs, down at your feet. Maybe that feels good. So what I'm going to do in this supported goddess pose, I'm going to bend my knees, and you could keep your knees there if that feels good on your back. You could keep your legs long if you prefer, or bend your knees and open up the knees and bring the soles of the feet to touch. If you got that blanket, maybe scoot it down so it's kind of on the inside of your thighs to just encourage your legs to open even more. Cover your eyes with your eye shade or your towel in this little supported goddess pose, and just enjoy it. All right, so I'm going to set a timer here. I'm going to set a long timer here. We're going to be here for 5 minutes. All right, just let things go. Arms open up, maybe palms face up. Feel the goodness of the opening through the collarbones here. You adjust your arms to what feels comfortable for you. And same thing with your legs. Maybe you don't like the knees open, and bring the soles of the feet back onto the mat or extend the legs long. You want to get comfortable and in a position that you can just sustain, that you're kind of effortlessly existing here. Breathe in deeply and breathe out even deeper. Shoulders are kind of enveloping that bolster. Shoulders are away from your ears as your neck is long. And you are at peace. Unclench your jaws if your teeth are touching. Find softness in your forehead. And just breathe. Let the thoughts that come, just let them go and come back to just your breath. Deepen your breath. No thoughts. Letting the body just surrender to gravity. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Give yourself permission to stay here if this pose is really speaking to you. The next pose we're going to go into is that caterpillar pose. But you decide. Maybe you say, this is the place that feels best for my body right here, right now. If you're going to join me in caterpillar, bring your knees together if you had them apart. Send your legs long on your mat. Ooh, enjoy the getting there. It just feels good. I'm going to slowly press into the earth and come on up to bringing my shoulders over my hips. And I'm going to find the bolster. It's not too far away. I'm going to bring the bolster onto the tops of my legs. Now, how do your knees feel back there? Maybe you take the blanket and slip it under your knees for a little bit of support there. That feels really good. You might want to try that. Edge of the bolster is up towards your belly. Lengthen up through the chest. You could use the blanket or another blanket on top of this bolster. You could use your block on top of the bolster and just hinge forward. Hinge forward a little bit. And I'm going to set a timer here for 5 minutes also. So get comfortable. You want to be comfortable, because if something is uncomfortable to the point of hurting, it's not good for you. You want to back out of it a little bit. Maybe you just rest here for a little while and stay. Lengthen up through the crown of your head. Exhale. Imagine your chest coming closer and closer to this bolster. Little bend in your knees, the blanket on your knees. Maybe that all feels good. All right, so as you settle in, I'm going to say hi to Betty. We all need this today. Liz, Stan, Tyrone, how are you? Lori, Kurt, Marietta, Elizabeth, Connell, Rita, Rena, Tim, Steve, Kelly. It's all good to see you guys. I'm glad you're doing your yoga. All right, get comfortable here and just let your low back decompress. Think of creating length in your spine. However you got to do that, make it work for you. The block is perhaps a nice addition under your forehead. Breathe in. Breathe out. No rush, no hurry. Just be right here, right now. Maybe arms float down. Whatever is comfortable for you, that's exactly where you should be. When you take a big inhale, think of space in your spine. Think of lengthening your spine. And when you take your big exhale, think of your belly button going back to touch your spine, allowing you greater space in which to fold more forward. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out as you allow your chest to come even closer to your bolster. And just for a moment, think about how far you've come in this pose. When you were first setting it up, did the bolster seem so far away? Were you really tight? Was there a lot of tension? And just take some deep breaths in and out and feel and assess where you are now. As time goes on in the pose, your body does surrender and it feels pretty good. So maybe you want to stay here. Maybe you've come farther than you've ever thought you could come in this caterpillar pose. If that's the case and you want to stay longer, give yourself permission. What I'm going to do next, and I'll tell you before you come out of it, is I'm going to go into that wide-legged forward fold, and I'm going to use this bolster. So it's taken this even a little deeper, but a little differently. All right, so if you wish to join me, slowly press on up as you inhale off of your bolster. Real easy transition. Just spread your legs, let the bolster drop between your legs, and we're going to fold forward onto this. Maybe bring a blanket. You don't need it under your knees anymore, right? Maybe bring the blanket to fold it on top of your setup. Maybe even bring your blocks, or put the blocks under the blanket so your head's more comfortable on the blanket. And then fold forward. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Remember, you're breathing in comfort and peace. We all want that. And you're breathing out the tension and the tightness and the stress. We're going to go for 5 minutes here. So get comfortable. Rest. And you decide when it's time for you to remove your stacked setup of props. Maybe you don't remove them at all. Be comfortable and find peace. spine lengthens as you inhale. And as you exhale, your belly button goes back to touch your spine. And it allows you to fold more deeply into your wide-legged forward fold. Right where you are, take a deep breath in. Find length in the spine. And a deep breath out. Find the depth of the pose. How are you feeling? Stay right here. Take a few more breaths. Maybe you decide to stay right where you are, and that is excellent. If you wish to join me, what you're going to want to do is press on up nice and slowly, bringing your shoulders over your hips. And we're going to go into a reclined pigeon, or I guess a reclined swan pose, if you will. But what we're going to do is bring that bolster from between your legs and bring it on up vertically onto your mat. We're going to use a block here, or maybe two. So let's start with one and keep the other block near the first block. Bring the one block down to the bottom of your mat. And you might want to have your eye shade too. All right, so we're going to recline our chest onto this bolster. And I'm going to place my right foot onto this block that's in a stable position. I guess I could turn it so it fits my foot more like a shoe. There we go. Then I'm going to recline. I'm going to place the blanket on my belly, eye shade on the eyes, come to recline here. Arms down by your sides, and lift your left leg up, the one that's not on the block, and cross it over to create a figure 4 in your legs. Now you want to keep your bottom down, maybe cover with the blanket, And arms down by your sides. That other block, maybe we'll use it in a little bit. We'll decide. But you've got the one foot lifted. Maybe scoot that block closer to your bottom. And you're seated in a figure 4 here with the left leg on top. Arms down by your sides, maybe palms face up. And we've got almost 5 minutes here. Arms can kind of be snow angeled, you know, what feels good in your shoulders. Stay right here. And as time goes on, maybe not quite yet, I'll just tell you early on so you can decide when you're ready. Maybe you stack the 2 blocks and bring that foot up even higher and hold it there. So it feels like you got a big stretch in your glutes, especially on the side of the bent leg. Feels a lot like when we do our half pigeon pose or sleeping swan. This is a reclined sleeping swan. A little kinder, a little gentler on your knees. Breathe in, breathe out. Enjoy the chest opening here as well. And if you don't like the 2 blocks, give yourself permission to just kick that top block off and go back to the 1 block or go back to no blocks. What feels right for you in this moment? And you know, periodically check yourself. Are you scrunching your eyes, creating wrinkles in your forehead? Let that go. Are your shoulders anything but loose and surrendering to gravity away from the ears? Breaths should be deep and peaceful. Even your jaws, let them relax and not have your teeth touch. Deep breaths, and the depth of the breath helps you feel that stretch in the glutes even more, doesn't it? Breathe in Breathe out. Let's switch sides. Bring your left foot on down slowly. I think you can do this without even getting off your back and moving your blocks. Just scoot your blocks over to the other side. In 1 block, 2 blocks, no blocks. Plant the left foot on top of those blocks. Crisscross the right leg. Maybe press it open a little bit. Maybe hug that foot in a little more. Whatever feels good to get a nice stretch on your backside. All right, another scant 5 minutes here. Feel what you feel. Don't judge it. Just feel what you feel and let the body rest. Deepen your breath. Tell yourself your mantra. I'm breathing in peace. I'm letting all the other stuff go. Soften the area between your eyebrows. Think of your shoulders as far away from your ears. One more deep breath in here. And a deep breath out. Feel the depth of this pose, the sensation in those glutes when you really, really exhale the air out of your lungs. All right, next pose, real easy transition. Just remove that top leg off. Bring it on down, float it on down to the earth. Your blocks, maybe you can kind of kick them up closer to your hands. Be creative, you got it. And then bring the soles of your feet to touch. Let your knees hang toward the earth and maybe place the blocks underneath the knees to let them relax a little bit. So we'll briefly take this little fish-like pose before we go into our final Shavasana pose. So knees are supported if you want. You know, maybe you want to let them hang out in space, but just maybe support them. They've been working hard. You had a nice big stretch here. Arms down by your sides, maybe cactus them out or tee them out a little bit. Breathe in, breathe out. Chest is open. Maybe a little bend in the elbows helps you feel like you're raising your chest up to the sky even more. I'm going to tee out my arms a little bit more and raise them maybe a little bit higher. And take a couple breaths here and just let that feel good. And you know, if it doesn't feel good, if it's painful, bring it back a little bit. Back out of it the way you came in. Backs of my hands are resting on the ground. I'm going to let them lift up a little or sweep up a little bit higher. Backs of the hands are still on the ground. That's my indicator that I'm doing okay in this pose. Breathe in, breathe out. This is a big pose because remember, you're on this bolster, so you're elevated quite a bit. Your shoulders are really thrown back, lifting the arms a little bit higher. It's a significant stretch here. Might feel better to bring them down a little bit. Might feel good to lift them a little bit higher. So your arms are almost in a pentacle-like pose when we do that big capital letter X shape. So knees are still resting on your blocks. How do your shoulders feel? Remember, it's always fine to release the tension and float them on down a little bit. All right, I'm going to keep my arms where they are, bring my knees together to touch, send my legs long on my mat so they're off that block, and now I am going to come into that pentacle pose, legs spread wide, arms spread wide on this bolster. Now the best part of the practice, I'm going to let my arms float on down as I prepare for a final Shavasana pose, bringing the legs together at the midline and the arms float down. Let's set up for this final Shavasana any way you like. Maybe you would like to just roll off of your bolster and push it aside and come down to the ground. I'm going to roll off my bolster and then come on up. I like placing the bolster underneath my knees, so I'm going to do that. But you don't have to. Final Shavasana can be absolutely nothing but just you're lying on the ground. So I'm going to place the bolster under my knees. I'm going to cover up a little bit with the blanket. I'm going to come to recline and find my eye shade or my towel. I know some of you like to place something underneath your neck. Maybe that feels good. It's up to you. Eyes covered with the eye shade feels really nice to block the world out. I'm going to settle in here so my knees feel comfortable. Let my pinky toes fall more toward the edges of the mat as my hips externally rotate just a little bit. Arms down by your sides, worked a little bit away from the body. Tuck the shoulders under toward the spine. Feel like your chest is lifted a little more, just like you're back in that fish pose. Palms can be face up or face down. What mentally feels better for you today? Try both of them and see which one you like. I'm going for hands down today. Neck is long, crown of the head is to the top of your mat as your shoulders soften down. Deep breaths in and deep breaths out. Soften the area between your eyebrows and imagine your eyes as resting heavily in your eye sockets. Even your cheeks are back towards your mat, as are your ears. Imagine your breath as soft in your throat. Teeth aren't touching, you got a little space between your jaws. And even your tongue, remove it from the roof of your mouth. You're so comfortable that the only thing moving is your belly, your chest going up to the sky as you take a big inhale, drink in all the clean, fresh positivity that you can. And as you exhale, bring your belly button back to your spine. Think of deflating a bad balloon, letting everything go that doesn't serve you. Just let it go. Big breaths in. And big, slow, complete breaths out. Come back to that deep breath. Now you can stay here as long as you like in your final Shavasana pose. So if you got your remote handy, maybe hit pause and then stay here as long as you want. And when you're ready, you would just hit play again and join us right here. Take a deep, refreshing breath in. And a big sighing breath out. Let it go. Start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Take that motion up into your wrists and your ankles. Take a big good morning stretch by reaching high overhead, reaching through the fingers, pointing through the toes, stretching it out, feeling how good it feels in the shoulders after taking that pentacle-like pose on the bolster. Oh my goodness. When you're ready, bend your knees, bend your elbows, and roll into a fetal position onto one side or the other. Use your low arms bicep as a pillow for your head. Close your eyes and breathe. Whenever you're ready, slowly float on up to a comfortable seated position. And just take this time just for you. Sit comfortably, whatever feels good. Hands to prayer center for just a little bit of gratitude and thanks to your body for what it did. Press your thumbs into your chest. Lift on up to the crown of your head. Soften your shoulders away from your ears. Spine is straight. Deep breath in. Refreshing breath. And a deep breath out. A calming breath. Gently blink your eyes open. You did it. Congratulations. 1 hour. I think it flies by in restorative. The stress number you took in the beginning. Go back to that. What was it and what is it now? You feel a lot better. I think you'll feel a lot better just kind of all over in your mind, your body, and your spirit. So, in conclusion, fill your minds with those things that are good and deserve praise. Things that are true, noble, right, lovely, pure, and honorable. Think about those things. Meditate on those things. Dwell on those things and become those things. Have a great day, everybody. See you on your mats for tomorrow's practice. Love you. Goodbye. Hey, Piper. Good girl. Take care. You're still here, and I'm really glad for that. Keep this in mind. The path is made through repetition. Keep showing up, and good things will happen. You know that. I'm glad that you're still sticking around. Tell your friends what the yoga's doing for you. Our yoga is free for anybody and everybody on Facebook and YouTube, and they can join in anytime from the privacy of their own home. Tell them about our practice, please. If you'd like to support our broadcast, you can visit our website. It's www.316yoga.com. Stay on your path, enjoy your yoga, and have a great rest of your day. See you on your mats tomorrow.